This is Nicole, and you are listening to Thinkology. This podcast is a series of conversations with people who have lived around the globe, left their homes and states and countries, and encountered different situations globally, lived in different, like I said, continents and countries, met people, learned new skills, and learned empowering ways of thinking and surviving while they did these things. This week we continue talking with Carl as he goes and joins a kibbutz in Israel. Let's stand by and wait for Carl to join us.
Hello.
Hi, Carl.
Is this clear? I've got like one bar on this connection thing on my phone.
Very clear. You are very clear. You have the right volume.
Oh,
Yes. And how are you this Sunday afternoon?
I'm doing well. There's been a lot of weather down here.
Really?
This is rainy season, so
Yeah.
it's kind of if you don't like rain, it's not the place to come now.
Right. I love the rain as long as it's warm. I do not like cold rain.
Yeah. Well, don't go to Poland in
Nope.
November.
Nope. Poland, Seattle, none of those places. Yeah, no.
Well, no, this is very, very, very balmy. The problems we have around here are like, mildews and things like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Because of this stagnant moisture.
Right. I can totally, because Baltimore gets that way. Sometimes it can be very muggy during the day, and there is a lot of mold over here. So I totally get that. But I think my favorite months in Maryland are in September, October. Those are my favorite months.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
you know what happened to me up there in Maryland? The doctor said, "Well, you've come to a very good place to get allergies." That's what I got up in Maryland.
It's true. 5 years into living here, I started to develop like seasonal allergies. It was horrible. But, honey is a very good thing, especially locally sourced raw honey is so good for combating. And I've actually seen it make a difference,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, honey, a teaspoon of it a day, and it really combats the allergies. And I know there are some farms. We went up here to a place called Bloom's Brooms
Okay.
Farm, and they actually sell pollen as well in a jar.
What do you do with it?
I guess you just take a teaspoon of it and put it in your tea.
Okay.
So what you need to get is the local honey, from the bees from here, in this area, or from Florida if you're experiencing allergies there, but I'm sure you don't with the palm trees.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't thought much about that, but there is a lot of local honey stuff around here. They're usually these guys at the side of the road.
Yep. I would buy that. Have a teaspoon a day. Honey is just amazing as a medicine. It's amazing. We use it for a lot. When we have a cough, for years, like we take a tablespoon of honey with 3 crushed peppercorns in it, black peppercorns. Take it for a few days, you're done. The cough's gone.
Now, let me know if you've ever heard this, or is it just my circles? They are throwing a whole cup of whiskey in with that mixture, and they promise it helps everything.
Okay, so when I was a kid, and this would never fly in a U.S. school, but but when my mom used to send us to school in December, she would make what she called an egg fillip. So she would take a raw egg yolk, beat it up with some sugar, okay, add steaming hot milk to it, and then add a tablespoon of brandy to it, and we never got colds in the winter. So yeah,
Well,
whiskey or brandy is fantastic.
And a tablespoon's less than a cup anyway.
Right, stave it off. Yeah, otherwise we'd be recalled for drunkenness, right, in the school.
You're being sent home from school because you're tipsy.
You're tipsy, whereas over here your mother would be sent to Child Protective Services, right?
Seriously.
So, anyways, and how are you? How was your week?
Well, I don't know how much I've told you, but I'm in this sort of maybe upheaval. I'm in this very dynamic time where there are lots of changes. So,
right.
Depending on how one looks at that,
Right.
right? This is either, I mean, this could be very difficult for certain types of people, or otherwise, for me, I look at this as a sort of a great expectation around the corner, because
Right.
everything, it looks like everything is going to change. And
Right.
so, as you know, which is maybe even part of the reason why we do these series, is because apparently this is interesting for people. I hope,
Yes.
because
No, but it is because it offers insight into how to navigate the change that you're going through. And then, it might not be the change itself, might not be a good thing, but it always works out in the end. Things work out in the end. That's what I believe. That's my philosophy. Is some
well,
of it is
and
not good.
yeah, yeah, and I keep going back to this. This thing of I think it's in physics, right? Like for every action, there's an equal
Mm-hmm.
counteraction or whatever reaction. So I'm excited because I like my existence to be interesting, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I figured it out that I like discovery when I was
Mm-hmm.
considering this whole European journey, then on to Middle East. Um, I was thinking the probably the greatest attraction, because I realized I was not necessarily going like the tourists do to the main reason. For instance, it was not very significant for me when I was in Paris to go to the Eiffel Tower. But
Mm-hmm.
accidentally, I was at the Eiffel Tower because I was in Paris, and this is more often the case than not. In my experience, I wasn't chasing sights. I don't think. I
Mm-hmm.
just enjoyed the dynamic happening of being in
Mm-hmm.
motion.
Right. Right.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It was the discovery aspect of it, and this boils down to people and certainly places, conversations, little tidbits of life that you pick up from people. And I think this, and even still today, is a great sort of driving force for me, that there's still discovery, right? There will constantly be
Right.
discovery until I know everything, and I'm halfway there. But until I know everything, then there'll still be discovery.
Right. And but it is the carpe diem, seize the day, seize the opportunity kind of principle. And I think what you watching your life, you have always done that. The opportunity presents itself, you calculate the cost sometimes and you don't sometimes, and you just seize on it, and then you end up like absolutely having a blast while doing it, which leads me to segue into this part. Like, so how did you land up in a kibbutz?
Okay, yes. So I'm trying to figure out what's the most. Do I want concise or do I want interesting? I've already promised to segue less. I promised.
Okay.
I took a vow. Oh,
Well, we need to get it all in half an hour, but it's
okay.
basically, right? So let
Well,
me, yeah, go
o-
ahead.
okay. Well, so I alluded to this earlier in one of the other episodes, that you find out from travelers interesting things, and sometimes the interest is defined by uh, where can we go next and survive, let's
Right.
say, or where can we go next and survive for a long time or for the longest period of time. So in
Mm,
the case of picking grapes, I think it was a few weeks, and then you know lack of a better reason, you didn't have to make any other decisions until that was over, and then you could just hopefully bump into someone else that had another interesting thing where you could go and exist for a period of time. And so something that's like the kibbutz, everybody in Europe, among these travelers, they knew you could stay for a year at that point. I don't know if it's changed.
mm-hmm,
You could volunteer on a kibbutz for 1 year, and then you had to leave. And you
mm-hmm,
could also just stay for a much shorter period of time. They would ask you when you showed up, how long would you like to stay, or do you plan on staying? And then
okay.
they're very agile, I would say, and allowing all that to change. But
Mm,
so I had heard about it, and then after speaking with you, I started putting pieces together and dates, because I know those help you to understand this uh, chronology of the whole thing.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So remember when I talked about the Eurail pass, going around and sleeping on the train?
Right, right.
Okay, you know what? This is, I think, extraordinary. I'm in Zurich, Switzerland, and
Mm-hmm,
in the train station, I must have just come off one train looking for some other train to go on, being very random. and I see someone that I know from Massachusetts in the train station. I had no idea they were going to be there. They had no idea. I go, "Hey, Phil, it's a friend of mine from Mass." He goes,
Hmm.
"Hey, what?" Lo and behold, a whole group of my friends were renting a car, and they were going to swing down through Austria. They were going to go through all these different communist bloc countries. The goal was to end up in Greece for a few weeks. Because one of them was Greek, of Greek extraction, wanted to look up relatives, and then they were going to go on to Israel, and they invited me to go.
Wow.
There was one more place in the car, and so
What
this,
an opportunity. Yeah.
well, this was a dream made in heaven, because I mean, so many questions were immediately answered. Number one, and I was thinking this might be this case with you, but I might be wrong. I Back in those days, and in high school, and maybe even earlier, I always found myself in a group of people that was older than me.
Right.
Was that the
Right.
case with you? I had the
Um,
impression.
well, in college, I hung out with people senior to me, and then people in my age. Yeah, so there's much value to be learned, to be gotten from that. Honestly.
Well,
Uh,
I always ended up sort of the youngest in these groups, which is
hmm.
a kind of a good position,
Yeah.
because they well, some of it can be they will sort of care for you, other
Hmm.
and also they just there's just a sort of a place. It's a placeholder, and plus, I mean, I was capable of usually generating some measure of humor, and I was rather
Right.
lighthearted, so it was beneficial for me, and that was the case in this car as well. And I just
Hmm.
remembered they were kind of like interested in making sure that everything was okay with me,
Right.
which in fact meant I think they were feeding me and doing all this stuff. I mean, it was a sizable amount of years,
Hmm.
7 or 10 or more.
Hmm.
But at any rate, so we agreed. So we started picking up the other people. There was someone to be picked up in Vienna, and then we just started driving. And of course, Greece was very dynamic and interesting, and laid back and fun. You know, these people that when they see you, these old men with these vineyards on their veranda, they just call you in from the street, and they'll serve tea and coffee or whatever, and they'll give you the grapes. A very very interesting how they react once again to foreigners.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow.
And
Wow.
the Mediterranean was very much like that. Um,
S-
so anyway, we got down to Cyprus, which was also fun, and then
Mm.
and by the way, in one of those lines, I just last year when I went to Holland, I revisited a man that I met on that Cyprus trip, and over
Hmm.
the years, I've bumped into him. Sometimes in different countries, and then he visited me in America, and this is one of those lifelong friendship things that we spoke about earlier.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and this happens only if someone pries themselves out of their own house. Now,
Right.
I just watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have. I
Well, you
have.
know, it's one of
Great.
those, hold on to your family at all costs kind of
Hmm.
stories, actually. But in fact, all those people were in that one little house, sort of doing nothing in a way, right? Those old guys are all in the same bed, and then the mother's cooking, and they're all. It's a sort of a small world, but that story was because of their hearts or their value system, right? Then it turned
Right.
very good, almost like Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, the whole thing.
Right. Right. Mhm.
But inside that story is also this idea that, well, for me, if you just stay there, the chances of having interesting experiences is less,
Yeah.
right? Than if you
Hmm.
go out. And I found that out about myself. It's like I want the experiences, so I'm rather interested in upping the chances by catapulting myself into new crowds of people. I would say.
Right. 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 Exactly.
Right? And the
Exactly.
sum total of this whole new brew, right? This brood of characters and stories, and also the chances of finding someone that you really like,
Right.
I was thinking about this, this is not a light switch or a button that just goes on or off. I think I'll like this person, or I think I will like this experience, right?
Hmm.
It's rather uncontrollable, I would say,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I discovered is that there was a higher chance for me to enjoy these people. And there was a person who said something to me at college. He goes, "Why are you talking to me?" And I said, "What?" Funny, because that guy ended up going with me to Israel years later.
Yeah.
why are you talking with me? He goes, I'm not a woman and I'm not a foreigner.
And
I said, what's that got to do with it? He goes, I sit here in this cafeteria every day and I watch you. You talk with women and foreigners. He goes, I'm a male from North America. And so he perceived that he had no value to me. And anyway, that was
oh my
funny. So,
gosh, that
or
is funny.
maybe that is partly true. But
Right.
at any rate, then I ended up going to Israel. When we got to Israel, we took the boat over to Israel. And there I announced to the group that I was going to find a kibbutz because
Wow.
I was going to spend the next. I wasn't ready to go home, and I
Uh-huh.
wanted to spend another year abroad, also broadening my coast. So this is the
Right.
exact story how it went.
Wow. So, like, how did you get admission to live in the kibbutz? I mean,
Okay,
so you find one, and then what happens? And how
well,
do you find one?
okay. So I just started asking because in those days they said 1 out of 4 people in Israel. I said everyone in Poland the other day spoke English at that time, which isn't really true. But in Israel at that time they said 1 in 4 people will speak English, and maybe these are true statistics. But I just started asking because I heard that there was an office for the kibbutzim, which is the plural for kibbutzim.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
office of the kibbutzim was down in Tel Aviv, and I just needed to get there. And it's as simple as this: you walk in, and they are very well organized. They discover which they know which kibbutzes have available because the whole kibbutz system, by the way, has already there are already places for what they call volunteers.
Okay.
Right? So the kibbutz system is based on this communal idea of sort of like farms, I would say, originally. And at that
Uh-huh.
time, there were 200. And I just went online recently and found out there are now just under 300. But they're they've changed a lot. Like 65% of them, according to the data that I read, is now actually paying their members, right? So this has come away from this
Amazing.
communal
Yeah.
thing, and then less have this old-fashioned way. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and at any rate, they always had volunteers, and the idea
Mm-hmm.
was this is beneficial to us, the kibbutzniks. The kibbutzniks, those are the guys
Yeah.
who live there. The kibbutzniks would find this to be a benefit because, in a way, it's like free labor. But
Right.
they gave us what they call cigarette money, just like
Okay.
it was back then. It was $17 a month at the particular one where I
Wow.
went. This is just for
Uh-huh.
tickets and getting around, but also the schedule was this: you worked 6 hours a day, and you
Mm-hmm.
had free housing, and you had food provided, and then they would, at least the one I was on, they would take you on a tour of Israel every month. They would take one day off
Lovely.
and they'd cram all the volunteers. Now we had this was a very big kibbutz, by the way. I had a friend who was on one with less than 20 people, way up in the Golan
Mm-hmm.
Heights, up in the north. But I was down in the Jezreel Valley, and that was it was a 700-person kibbutz. It was very modern, and they had multiple ways of making income. And
Right.
so we had 32, 33 volunteers. And so they would,
Mm-hmm.
this was a terribly interesting thing for me because there would be Australians, there would be New
Nice.
Zealand people, there would be these people who would take trips far away and stay away a long time. These are not the 2 week.
Wow.
So Argentinian people I met, which was fun. A lot of the Northern Europeans, a lot of Scandinavians were there just trying to get out of the freezing cold, as we described earlier. Um, so, yeah, so you go into the office and they just start telling you, would you rather be here? Would you rather be on a big one? Would you rather be on this type? And so I just chose basically uh, not having much of a preference, I would say. And
Yeah.
I ended up on it was a very modern one. I mean, there were electric doors. This was quite different from the one when I visited my friend up in the north because, they were pretty much like in huts, I would say, and they were farming,
Oh. Oh.
huts and
Okay.
farming way up in
Very
the north, but
rural, rustic kind of thing.
very rural and very
Yeah.
primitive.
Right.
But our existence was this very established cafeteria that was pumping out food for 700 people 3 times a day. There
Wow.
was there were multiple. There's this fish hatchery, which was very interesting. Um, they have these sort of square man-made ponds
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that are like low in depth, lower than your shoulders, and you kind of have to sneak up on the fish. It's very interesting. They have this big vacuum on a machine,
Yeah.
and you have to very quiet. You're not allowed to talk. You very
Mm-hmm.
quietly. One of the workers, there are three or four of us, goes in the pond, and you're
Uh-huh.
dragging this kind of net. And okay, so if you look down at kind of a square pond, and then you're trying to section off 1/4 of this pond. So you're in the
Right.
middle of the bottom of the square, let's say, and you're going up. So you go
Yeah.
straight up till you're right in the middle, and you're tiptoeing quietly, and then you have to run really quickly to close off this little quadra. This, yeah, so the fish don't get out because they're not
Yeah.
dumb, and they'll try to get out, and then you trap them
Yeah.
in there, then you sort of suck them out with the machine. So there
Yeah.
was that,
Wow.
and then there was the Refit, which is a farm where milk was being produced. I was working in a factory which actually having something to do with armaments. I was electro-galvanizing
Wow.
metal pieces, and there was the hatchery for chickens, and there was all kinds of stuff. It was a very expansive thing, and a
So
pool.
basic. Wow. So you basically picked up some skills also along the way if you were working on armaments and stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I never thought of it that way, but yes. I mean, some people, like I just remember one of those Australians preferred to be over with of course they were birthing calves and things like this. It
Right.
has to keep
Right.
happening if you want milk, and so that was
Right.
that was all interesting for him. And they kind of let us, in a way, choose where we would go, even once we were there, unless there was just a need. Like for instance, my job nobody wanted. Everyone else
Okay.
wanted to be outside.
Okay.
I just once in a while got to do those other things like the fish, but mostly I just said I don't really care, and
Yeah.
um, and I went. But one of the more interesting things was a guy inside in that plant where I was working. He gave me the opportunity because he had known about it, and he
Hmm.
told me there was the opportunity to go on an archaeological dig in the Negev desert.
Nice.
I said, "Oh, this was
Wow.
wonderful. This was a 2 week thing. It's very interesting. We get up at 3 in the morning because it's so hot, and you have to finish like before noon and get
Right.
out of the sun. But we actually found a scarab, right? A carved bug,
Right.
which was sort of evidence in their eyes that the Jews, having left Egypt in this old Bible story, that they had gone there because this was the thing that the Egyptians would have with them, not the Jews, the scarab.
That's
So
so amazing.
oh, it was amazing. And it's very
Yes.
interesting. Like with a little paintbrush and a toothbrush, you're going down like a quarter of an inch at a time so you don't break anything. And all these little layers, just as you may have seen on some television program, going
Right.
down, down, down. And
Right.
painstaking work. But it was one of the high
It
points of my life.
reminds me of this book that I read by, I think his name was Howard Bloom. He used to write for the New York, some publication in New York Times or Post, I'm not sure. But he wrote a book called The Gold of Exodus. And it was about these two adventurers who stumbled upon the gold that was left behind in the bottom of the Red Sea
Wow.
when the Israelites crossed over, and they actually found the top of Mount Sinai, and it was burnt where the burning bush was. I mean, and it's right now in the middle of Saudi Arabia. It's behind a military installation. So, but they managed to get in. So this story that you're telling reminds me of that. When I read it, and if you get your hands on that book, it's an interesting read.
What was the
You know,
title?
The Gold of Exodus
Funny you
by.
bringing this up because I didn't know how we would segue over into this kibbutz from the art
Right,
conversation which we had last time, and I
right.
was I was looking up at the world's highest prices for art ever,
Oh my gosh.
and the biggest one, and it was a painting I don't even think I'd ever really seen much about. It's something you don't hear much about,
Uh huh.
and it was by Davinci, and it's of
El
Christ.
Mundo. Yeah.
Yes, with the gold, with the,
Yes.
and this is in Saudi Arabia of all places
Yeah.
because it gets 450 million.
Yes.
Uh, so who else has this except these oil people, I guess?
Yeah,
But
somebody stumbled upon it. Somebody stumbled upon it, and they discovered that finally, after years of looking at it from all angles and doing all the authenticating tests on it, they found out that it was a Da Vinci. That is just like, who knows how many there are out there. But I mean, not to detract, but I have to make this little note. So my daughter comes home yesterday with a book that she made her father buy her, and it was by one of my favorite artists. His name is Banksy, and he's very subversive. Have you ever heard of him?
I'm gonna look into it.
Banksy. I will. He's on Instagram, and oh my God, I love this man because nobody knows who he is, as far as I know. The story goes, nobody has seen him, but he comes up with art anywhere in the world. Literally, he just shows up, mostly in England, and he created this piece of art with this girl holding a red balloon, and it was bought again by somebody for millions of dollars out of Christie's. But he believes that there shouldn't be a price on art, that it should be enjoyed by all. So literally he had wired the art that he gave to Christie's to sell, so that when the gavel went down, the art began to shred
Yeah.
right out of the painting. And it's on video if you look it up on YouTube. But he's one of my favorite artists. I mean, like, because his art has meaning. It has obviously a story, but he's just one of the. But anyways,
Well, no, but wait. But now you've got me all excited because you remember last time we talked, last time or some other time, we talked about this from the perspective of the actor.
Yes.
The
And the artist.
value, the value was in the performance.
Yep.
And this is sort of subterfuge for me to explain how I did it.
Yes.
And it's along the same thing, and these creators of art are not kidding, and it comes down to this definition of what is value. And I started thinking about this. So oddly, this was also in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because one of those grandfathers said, money is everywhere. It's on the whole planet, but this ticket into the factory, there's only 5. So the real value is in this, not in getting money for the family. And this was a very pivotal point in that story. And I mean, the real things of value, like our family members, and there is no price, right?
There's no price.
And some artists are maybe looking at their creations. I mean, you're talking to a man who tried to buy a piece of his own art back. So I wanted it back, and I didn't like certain parameters going on with the art, and I wanted it back. And so this
wow.
And I wasn't kidding, but this represents a certain kind of thinking, and actually, I think it's worthy to investigate this idea of value, right? Hopefully, all of us are, and figuring out what our value system is. Once again, this goes down to my Chile experience and value and dogs, etc. So and feeling good, right? This is a value.
Yeah, and you create the art because you enjoy it. You know what your motives are in creating the art, and so you have every right to see it utilized in the way you want it to. And this is Banksy. I mean, you can follow him on Instagram. He is definitely on Instagram.
I'm gonna look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I am like cannot wait for the next 2 days to end, because school's ending, and I'm going to look at that book because it tells you stories and it shows his art. And she got this book and she brought it home and she goes, guess what I found? I was elated. Elated.
Did there have, I don't know if it went up there, but there is this sort of, I don't know if interactive is the real word, but sort of interactive Van Gogh sort of display that's been going around in America.
Yes, I heard about it. I've not really seen it.
Interesting for me is, by the way, they've done extraordinary things with this Van Gogh museum up in Holland, because I just think it's a very clever idea to take a room and cause all the walls to be one of his paintings. And you're in the middle of this, and I think they've even moved. They're in motion. So
that's what I heard.
Just think wonderful way to engage in art.
Yeah. How did we get to art from the kibbutz?
I know. So anyway, the kibbutz.
We've got like 2 minutes, 1.5 minute more. Okay,
well, I don't know what else to say. The kibbutz was very dynamic, very interesting. I have lifelong friends. I even got friends to come from the States and join me. So in the end, there were there were 4 or 5 of us there for the second year. I was there for 1 year. Then I went away, and then I came back. And also,
so basically, it's not difficult. Let me ask you this: it's not difficult to join a kibbutz for a while, do the work, and then leave.
absolutely undifficult. You just have to have this in your value system. It's like you
Yeah.
have to be willing to live on $17 a month. If
Yeah.
that's fine with you, then have
Yeah.
at it. It's
Well,
part of
it's an
seeing
experience.
the world, you know.
Yeah, it's an experience in itself, and it teaches you skills. It enhances your friendships and relations. You make new ones. Yeah, and then you get your old friends to come and visit and join in the fun. How good is that,
I got
right?
somehow. It's like it was the combination of things. I mean, I'm not so sure any of those people would have joined Carl back from college or whatever to go. I don't know where.
Hmm.
Somewhere, but they certainly were willing to. Israel is also Middle East is attractive to certain people,
Yeah,
so
it
they
is
came for
attractive.
that, and then you get to reconnect with in our case, old college friends,
Hmm.
and it ended up being a very interesting part of my life, and also it sort of progressed because that's only one way to stay. I mean, that I
Hmm.
knew of, but there was
Right.
also another thing called a moshav, and a
Hmm.
moshav is less communal than a kibbutz, and they give you more money, but you get to live with families and you
Oh,
can stay
nice.
longer. Yep. And then that parlayed over into, in the end, I just had a full time job down in Eilat, the southernmost point of Israel, on the Red Sea, and
Beautiful.
and that's where I ended up gathering up money that I needed to advance to other parts of my life, including trip to the pyramids in Egypt, et cetera, et
Oh
cetera, et
my
cetera.
gosh, I can't wait to hear about that. We're going to talk about that next time. I did not even know till just now that you went there
Oh, and
to
Luxor
Giza.
Temple, it's
Oh
extraordinary. And the
my
Valley of the Kings, I mean,
goodness.
there's a lot going on over there.
Oh, so a friend of mine who is Egyptian, she said, I'm going next year and there's a long list of people who want to come with me. I was like, okay, count me in.
Oh,
Because
nothing can describe it.
oh, I want to go for sure. I mean, we used to do flights into Egypt, but there was never any time to go and really soak in the sights and stuff. So I'm
Oh
now
gosh, I
at the
was on this
point where I would love to.
train forever with
Oh,
chickens
nice.
and goats and all this chaos getting way down to Luxor Temple. It was very interesting.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to discuss that next time. So it's a nice way to go from Israel into Egypt, literally backwards, right? But so lovely talking with you, Carl, as always. I love our conversations, and hopefully, listeners will join us next time. And follow Carl on Instagram at Carl the Bearded Man. You can find me at Thinkology with a GIE at the end, and send work our way or join us on this podcast if you want to talk about something that interests you. We will schedule you in. So
All
thank you,
right.
Carl, once again, and
All right.
we'll see you next week.
Nice chatting with you. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye bye.
You have been listening to Thinkology, a podcast about thriving in a culture alien to your own. We will be publishing an episode a week featuring different people who have chosen unconventional paths in their life's journey. We have been talking with Carl Stevens, who is a friend for the last 20 years at least. He is an actor, artist, street performer, woodworker, and world traveler. You can follow him on Instagram at Carl the Bearded Man. Follow us at Thinkology, spelled with an IE at the end. This podcast can be heard on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Breaker. Please do listen in and subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. Till next time, be well and stay safe.